Good afternoon, and welcome to the Fact Centre in Liverpool. This is a 10 and Spin webcast. We're going to have a discussion here on a bit of craft work, and this is the third in a series of ways of seeing. We have a panel with us, Mr. John Donald, Miss Vicky Langley, Miss Amanda Falconer, and Kelly Howard. I think the discussion is going to be on a piece of artwork, patchwork quilts. Is that correct, Don? Well, that's it. Vicky, could you tell us a bit about this project? What's involved? Yes, the whole issue.
Basically, what we've done is because we're looking to make the quote centred around, concentrated on the fact we decided to use our own children's clothes to make patchwork quilts for the biennial. So it was hard work, but it's really good.
Well, patchwork, but what brought this thinking forward like it?
In email, Lisa, we basically ideas and we decided to go patchwork quilt idea.
So you took this up from scratch, more or less, I did it. You had any experience in it, no?
No. But we're learning.
Have you gone into the history of the...
We just like Kitty's history, where she was born and when she came to Liverpool and where she lived when she was here. She lived in the mills when she was a teenager. We've gone through all that, and we've just incorporated all that into our journals that we've got, and from that on into the quilt, and it's just brought the ideas on from that.
Would I be right in assuming like it's originated in America? Would that be correct, or have you done any research of that like that?
The project originated.
Patchwork quilts, making the idea of patchwork.
Quilt making. I think it's a big thing in America.
I know it has quite a history in America.
Yeah, it's a community thing in America. I think
Thinking back in the past, I've read little articles on it, but I also know that when I was a youngster over there, it took over here, but in a different fashion. The women started knitting foot squares, stitched them all together, and that became their version of a patchwork quilt. I also know there's sort of a show on the television, the Antiques Roadshow, went over to America. And one of the items that was auctioned, it was a patchwork quilt, and it fetched about $5,000. So over in America, it's quite big, and I said, when we come antiques. And John, what's your involvement? You connected with the girls, then?
Yeah. I kind of a couple of years ago I did some portraits of mother and child portraits in Speke, and I did one of Amanda, and I had an exhibition up in Speke, and so I'm kind of been involved with some of the mums in Speke for over a few years really, and I've been involved in some projects with the Biennial, and my connection with these three mums is with the Kitty Wilkinson project. So we've been sort of working together to see how we can produce a piece of artwork for the Biennial, and it's connected to the international artists in the Biennial. One particular artist called Lisa Oppenheim, and she came and did some work with us, and we kind of talked about it and thought about it, and Lisa suggested, one of the ideas that Lisa suggested, that we might look at patchwork quilts, and the mum seemed to think that was a good idea, so we're kind of exploring that, and I think Kitty Wilkinson is such an interesting woman in terms of the history of the city, and I mean she's known to some people in Liverpool, and there's a stained glass window in the Anglican Cathedral in the Lady Chapel, and it has one of the images in there is of Kitty Wilkinson, but I don't think there's that much. She's not sort of discussed or talked about or noted particularly in terms of her relevance as a sort of a person who has contributed to the history of Liverpool. And
that's a fact, that's on,
yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about Kissy in a minute, John, because she is a very interesting person. It's a very
Yeah.
interesting subject. And at this point, I'd like to welcome anybody that's logged on. You know, any questions you want to send through, send them by all means. The girls will answer them. We're all capable. Get back to the connection with the biennial. Is it right to say you're working on a quilt which will be displayed?
Yes,
Is-
yes, that's right. Yeah, it is. Yeah. And we'd also just like to mention that it was John's idea for us to do the journals. He was the one who originally stated the idea, and we've worked really hard on them, haven't we, girls? We've really enjoyed doing those.
What stage are we at as regards the quilt?
Amanda?
And is it the standard size? Is it going to be bigger than normal because of the fact it will be displayed on the biennial?
Well, we decided not to make it too big because it'd be hard to incorporate, you know, because all the things to
Yep.
the kitty, it'd be hard to get onto one quilt. So we decided to keep it like double bed size, you know, standard. I can't think off in my head what the dimensions are. But the stage we're up to, we've just got, I think, our second patch sewn together. So we're all places, we're all made up with ourselves.
Brilliant, brilliant. Wow.
So yeah, so we've got 2 patches ready to go, and most of the rest of the clothes. So we decided to use our own children's clothes because Kitty helps so many children. We thought it'd be fitting to use our kids' old clothes, cut them up, patch them together, and use them to make the main patches. So we've got most of the colours stitched together, and we just need to get it cut out and ready to repeat onto. So we're getting there.
Well, this is undoubtedly a very, very interesting concept. Are you all able needlewomen? Is there any special
not-
skill required when you're making it?
It's been an experience, I'll put it that way. There is some skill required, but we've just had to sort of learn as we go along. My mum she is good with the sewing machine, so she's give us some direct, you know, some instruction as we've been along. But we've pretty much just have to see how we can manage as best we could. But we haven't done bad considering we've had no previous experience. So
I like that reference to your
doing
mum being
well.
good on the sewing machine, because you don't have to be good today. If any kids' clothes
Yeah.
wear out, you just throw them away and get new
Yeah.
ones. But your mother had to repair them.
Yeah, my mum. It's all my mum. Yeah, does that.
But again, could you just tell us again, what's the connection with Kissy and the quilts? Is there going to be an image incorporated in the quilts?
Yeah, there's the only image I think it is the only image we know of that there is of Kitty is a black and white image of her that was taken when she met the Queen in 1800s. Yeah, I think she was about 50, 60 odd, something like that when she met the Queen. So that's the only image we know of that there is of her. So we've decided to use either that image or the image of the stained glass window in the cathedral. So we're going to use one of them and centre it, put it in the middle of the quilt, and then do like pictorial patches around the side to, you know, represent all the aspects of Kitty's life.
We're still trying to work out how to incorporate the image. Sorry. Yeah. We're still trying to work out how to incorporate the image, because as far as we know, there's one photograph that was made of her, 1850s or something. But there's an image in the cathedral, which is a stained glass window, which would be based on that photograph, but it's been drawn or painted by an artist, whoever designed the stained glass windows. And it's a very different image. So we're trying to work out which of the 2 images to use, or a combination of both of them, or an interpretation of those 2 images. And we're still in the process of working out how to apply that, whether we paint it on or print it out and iron it on, or a mixture of both, or redesign the whole image itself. And so we're in the middle of doing that.
Isn't there a system where you can have a photographic image? Or would that be cheating, would it?
Yeah.
No, it's up to us how we do it. I mean,
It's a massive-
transferring the image, we did consider that, didn't we? We're just undecided as to which way to go with it at the minute.
I think we're just going to really practice on different methods to make out the best look design-wise. Because some methods like printing or transferring can smudge slightly and you don't get the full effect of the design. So I think, with the image being so dark in places, we really want to get the best out of it that we can. So.
Yeah, and the black and white photo looks a bit serious. I don't think it does it justice, really. For
But then
for
again,
the kind of work.
doesn't that reflect the way technology was at the day. That was the only way that photograph could be taken. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. So I think the thing is that how much does that photographic image reflect Kitty Wilkinson? You know, when you look at it, you think, well, she looks a bit. Well, it might do actually. You don't know, do you? She looks worn out and tired and sort of.
yeah, but again, wouldn't that be understandable?
It could well be.
She
Yeah.
was involved with working class people. She pushing the social side of life, which is like in that day was a very serious business. So I suppose you have to have a serious. I've no doubt
but
in the private life.
The image in the cathedral, which is an artist's interpretation, looks a little bit more sort of characterful and I know slightly less serious, but you know it's a different kind of image, and so it's you know which how do you work out what you look like, or how do you express through an image? You know,
exactly. But I think you find from that day that photographs taken that a lot of photographs that day would project the same image of notable people of the day. I don't think they had to have this serious image about them because I'm like upstanding, I'm above every sort of you put this. But having said that, how did you come to Kelly's Kitty with the quilts? How did you come to get the two things together? Like, what made you pick Kitty?
Well, at first we had a couple of names, and we have the theme John brought to us was strong women, wasn't it? So we picked a few names that we know of. There was Kitty Wilkinson and Bessie Braddock, is it? Yeah. And we were just going through lives, and we decided Kitty best reflected us ourselves. Like, she looked after kids, we've all got kids ourselves, and just the things she's been through, and we could I'm trying to think of the word. We could we could recognise what she'd been through, empathise, what she'd been through in obviously not to the same degree, but a little bit, and she just seemed the best person to base the quilt on.
Well, that's a lovely thing, isn't that? Because as John mentioned before, there's people in Liverpool that served Liverpool over the years, and their names are very footballers are on everyone's tongue, singers, entertainers, comedians, everything. People from that era, like, that really push people's lives forward, enhance them and everything. They very rarely get mentioned. I have heard of Kitty Wilkinson, and I don't know how deep you've gone into it, like, but I think in the last 6 months they've unveiled one of these blue plaques. Now, I wouldn't be word perfect on this, but I'm sure there's a public house on Vauxhall Road that's used to Freedom, and it was in the process of being demolished, and somebody stood up and pointed out things to the council. Do you know who used to frequent this public house? And she sat there and had meetings, Kitty Wilkinson, and somebody in the council must have said, well, let's stop this. I think it's been renovated, and they put a plaque on the outside, and I think the woman who pushed that, who initiated the plaque, was Kay Kelly, the lady who recovered from cancer and fighting for St. Mary's Church. It was there to push because there was a photograph in the Echo of Kay standing while the plaque was being put there. It might be interesting going and seeing that one day. If what I'm saying is, I've got a terrible memory, but it's only the last couple of months, I'm pretty sure it's there. But when will the quilt be finished?
Well, that's the question. We're hoping to have it done in the next couple of months, aren't we? The biennial is September, so we're hoping to have it done, say mid-August.
How do you go about this? These meets at the same time, is it?
Yeah, usually at my house the girls come round when the kids are in bed, and we just have cups of tea and tea night in, lots of tea for Kelly. And what's her name? Yeah, we get the sewing machine out, and have a little sewing circle in my house.
Well, that's lovely because publicity-wise, this might catch on. It's I've no doubt there's people may hear this webcast or looking at even when the biennial takes place and say, I used to do that and take it up again. You could start something. Would you like that, or do you want to play it close to your chest? Is it something? Is it just a thing you've got going between the three of you, like three comrades sitting and having a talk and never mind the tea, the odd bottle of wine.
No, I think it started out that way. It was just the three of us and Craig, but after the biennial, I think we haven't really discussed it, have we? We wouldn't mind taking it further. Yeah, it'd be something to look into. Really, so,
Well, there's many a giant industry in the world started in someone's living room. It's it's the materials are all your cast-offs, cast-off clothes, children's clothes, things like that.
Yeah, well, it's our children. We've all got 2 children each, and it's just what they've grown out of that we've used. We've just cut up and used them for the materials. So.
Well, Don and I had a quiet discussion before the show came on, and just assuming this. As I say, I have picked up bits and pieces on the patchwork quilts thing in America, you know, and it's, you're going back, John mentioned these, what were these on the cloth rugs? What do we call them? Rag rugs. When I was young, virtually every household was making them a pastime because television wasn't out then. It was like you just picked them up and stuck a few things, and it became like, it was something you could use. So the first rugs were made, they were standard. Somebody cut an old coat up and you'd make a rug just so you had something on the floor to walk over. Then somebody else would embellish that, you know, or I'll put a red square in the middle, and then somebody else do a diamond shape. And in the end, it became works of art. And I think that's what it's, even the origins of patchwork quilts, I think it suggests itself. You do them from remnants of clothing. I should imagine it originated when people were poor, couldn't afford proper bedding, so why throw these clothes away? We'll cut them up, make a patchwork quilt. So it's become like an art thing sort of thing, you know. And some of the ones that were on display in America, they were actually works of art, and I believe tourists bring them back home with them. So you could be starting something that'll...
Hopefully, yeah.
But you haven't made your mind up until this one's finished, you might say.
Yeah, we'll see where we go with this one first and see what comes of this. You never know.
I was just...
Well, I don't know if I've mentioned it too much, but the John Moores University were interested to I think I mentioned it to Sharon from the Biennial, that John Moores University were interested to put it on display in their library and put it in the context of craft and art. Because, you know, if there's traditionally there's a sort of big difference between, you know, craft and contemporary art, and there's a sort of like, you know, craft is looked down upon a little bit by some artists.
Yeah.
And I think it's very interesting that this piece of artwork is also craft work. It's made and it's handmade.
Undoubtedly done.
And you know, and the idea of that of making a patchwork quilt dedicated to Kitty Wilkinson, that's made out of children's clothes. Because the whole thing about Kitty Wilkinson, the story of why she's sort of remembered, is that she washed clothes basically and saved children's lives by doing that. But there was a cholera epidemic in Liverpool in 1830, and Kitty Wilkinson and her husband washed clothes. Their house was one of the only house in that area that had a boiler, and the other parents brought children's clothes to her house, and it was just basically a wash house.
Well, this is a point I meant to make before, Don, it's just slipped my mind. I think the idea why Kitty Wilkinson, didn't she originate the first wash houses, warehouses you might call them, where people had a place where they could go and wash their clothes in proper conditions, where instead of like the houses in those days were squalid, hardly any room, and there were always big families involved. So a woman doing a washing, which she did always by hand, I imagine it would be a hell of a chore. So I think it was Kitty originated the wash house, wasn't she?
Yeah, she worked for a family who, when she left, I think the Rathbone family, when the lady of the house passed on, I think it was, her husband, she made her husband promise she'd look after Kitty, so she gave her a mangle, which was a pretty big gift in them days. So from that, she started letting other families in the community come and use the mangle and use the boiler that was in her house at the time. So yeah, all the families come, and that's where she started from, because she was the only one who had the means to clean the clothes enough to stop the disease that was going around. It was everywhere at the time. So.
Because it's hot water that was important to actually stop the disease. So, but she encouraged families to go round to her house at first and wash their clothes there. And then when she moved to the public wash house, she was encouraging, you know, people from her street to go into the wash house and use the wash house as like a daily meeting thing, wasn't it? Which is really funny because, you know, Vicky, Amanda and I actually have meetings. So, you know, it's quite similar. Yeah, exactly.
Good excuse.
The similarity, yeah.
Well, my interested to know about why way of coincidence. Yesterday, in the fact centre, a group of us people from Tennisbin were sitting having a discussion over a casual cup of coffee, and we were discussing a project that's coming up in a few weeks' time, and names had to be put forward, and Kitty Wilkinson's name was put forward. I can't tell you what the project is, but Kitty Wilkinson, because so she's fairly prominent on people's lips, Don. You know, I know I mentioned her. Now, we have a lady here who's connected with the Biennial. Could you, Sharon, what's your thoughts on this? It's a very interesting thing, isn't it, guys, the Biennial?
It's great because the project first came about because we wanted some of the international artists to work with local community groups, but we were aware that maybe they wouldn't have the time to be in Liverpool and to like develop a strong link with that group. So this project is based on a model which we're calling like triangle projects, and there's a local artist who's John in this case, international artist who's Lisa, Lisa Oppenheim, and then there's the group of young mothers from Speke. So the idea was that they'd come together and develop a project, but the project should very much be owned by the women. And so Lisa spent a week in Liverpool when she was working on the production of her work for the international exhibition, and she met with the group, and I think you all went out for food and drinks, didn't you?
Nice drink.
And it's like, I think, actually what's happened is Kelly, Vicky and Amanda have like taken the project and run with it, because they perhaps don't need that much support from any of us to make it happen. But it's a brilliant project, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the end quilt and showing it during the biennial.
Well, I think you should be in a position to clarify this point for John, who I've been calling John for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, his name's John. I'll clarify that.
Surely you're like me, John. Call me anything as long as it's not past 5 in the morning. You should be able to clarify this up, Sharon. Surely this quilt can be classed as a work of art, because
Definitely, yeah. No, and I think we've had discussions about this. About I think like probably in the world of community arts, like quilts, were used quite a lot. There are like the AIDS quilt in San Francisco, which was like a massive quilt that's made to sort of commemorate people who have died from AIDS. And so there's lots of really good examples, but like how it fits in the world of contemporary art, I think, is a question, and I think it does. We can see, and like because of all the issues and things that the group have been talking about. So it'll be interesting to see what the response to it is when we display it.
Well, I think if you ally skill, colour, and imagination, it's got to be art, isn't it?
Yeah, and what is really good and what I'm really like, it's nice to hear about, is that there is that skill bit in it, because a lot of art might just come through ideas and making things happen, but like having talked to the group, I know that they've learnt to sew and are quite pleased about that, so that's really good. And that Vicky's going to be making her own clothes.
Yes. I can actually sew, which is a big surprise. So, yeah, learned how to sew, which is a good thing.
And I think, like, thinking about how the project should develop, that's a really important part of thinking about how people do learn skills, and how those, as you were saying earlier, those skills can be really useful in, like, everyday life, can't they? If you can sew, it's quite handy.
So if this quilt is a success, you say you might consider carrying on, and a group, surely neighbours will get interested. Like, could you make me one? Could you? Then you'd be holding schools.
I haven't really thought about it, to be honest. No. I mean, it's a thought we consider, but I don't know. I think
you're interested to carry on doing the project.
we're involved in a mums group at the minute who want to work in the community anyway, with children or elderly people, and bringing art to them to help them progress emotionally and in the community. So I think, there's a carnival on in Speke on the 24th, and we've been doing a project with the children, just making masks and things, for them to walk in the carnival parade.
Yeah.
So we want to continue that on. So I don't know if we can tie something with the quilting to something like that, then I think we definitely would carry it on. I think if it comes to just making for people we know, I don't think we'll go that far. But I don't know.
Don't know. Keeps coming,
yeah.
I'll pretty much do anything.
You've also done other projects, haven't you? Art projects that
We done the Four Corners project for the city. It was displayed in Lewis's last week, the top floor of Lewis's. We done a small project for a company called Arts and Regeneration in Speke, and they asked us to do a little project around wishes. So we made a dream catcher and displayed that in Belvale Shopping Centre, along with other works like that John done and other people created. So yeah, we've done quite a bit.
Well,
we also
say
did
the last
animation.
two
Animation. We've done 2 animations now. One we did together in a mums group at the Lisa project, and it's centred on the idea of women controlling their emotions and being powerful. And we showed that in the same exhibition as John's photos up in Speke, and we really enjoyed that, didn't we? And then for the Four Corners project, we helped with another animation as well. We really enjoyed doing those, didn't we?
So it's not just quilt making. You're very adept at
We'll
things.
do a bit
Oh,
of
yeah,
anything.
we'll have a go at anything, won't we?
We'll have to try.
You wouldn't have to. You don't need to struggle to imagine. Once your quilts has been displayed in Biennial, I should imagine you could be in great demand by projects and Liverpool community groups that would like to be
Hopefully, yeah.
involved with you, because it is interesting work. It's an interesting thing you're doing. I should imagine it'd be a big call.
I think that's one of the things we're hoping for, though, isn't it? That people see our work and see in it that we might be able to help other communities or other projects that are there, that we might be able to contribute to them and help some way, and maybe, get in touch with us in some way and see if we can help them. So it's one thing that we want to get started, isn't it? So
Yeah.
Well, one thing comes to mind immediately. Oh, no, I'm not going to mention football.
oh, we're not football
John,
fans.
what's your overall work like? Apart from the quilts, what's your...
Me, I'm involved in all sorts of community arts projects. A lot of it's photography based or sort of digital stuff. I'm working on a project at the moment in Kensington with some children, relating to something to do with the history, again sort of related to the history of the city, and a project that Metal is working on in Kensington on King Cotton, and I'm doing a project with quite young children, 6 to 11-year-olds, and I'm trying to sort of devise a way of working with this little young age group to look at ships and sailing and the cotton trade and all sorts of things really. One of the things that we did last week with them, just to try and engage them, was to use to do juggling with 2 balls or 2 balls against the wall, which children used to do in Liverpool as a childhood game. And they used to sort of sing songs or have rhymes, and we gave these kids these balls, and they didn't really know what to do with them. They were just throwing them around the place. And so that's kind of like interesting that what was some years ago a very common childhood game, and the children would sing songs. The kids don't do it anymore.
Well, I mean, you are in competition with PlayStation.
That's right.
Xboxes
Yeah.
and kind of thing.
Yeah.
And but just the thought, that wouldn't that be a fabulous thought? If you could redirect children back to games where they actually, with these children groups and simple things, but kept them just as happy.
Yeah.
Because I mean, again, I always do this. It's an age thing. I was raised when I was a child. You come home from school, had your tea, and you went out in the streets. And from one end of the street to the other was just chock-a-block with about 50 children. They were all playing different games, marbles, shooting up against the wall, drawing on the floor, things like that.
Yeah.
And it's like after 6 o'clock.
You can't play in the street now, though, because the world has changed, isn't it? Like
in
the last 20 or 30 years, the streets are full of cars, so children don't play in the streets anymore.
Exactly.
And I think it's quite interesting the way, how children are these days, what they do with their time and what games they play, and
It's a cold world in a lot of respects. In that respect, a child comes home, as I've just said, comes home, as his tea, disappears upstairs, and all you can hear is beep, beep, and screams and yells. And my grandson wants the goriest games you can get. He wants these fellas walking around like zombies all covered in blood, which I think is sad. He should be outside playing football and things like that, but I say they can't. So anyway, you might your tapestry might even end up in a museum. And then there's another thought. Kitty is one famous person. Couldn't you just think, I'd like to say, well, there's other people, other notable people in Liverpool's history, and there are people of a certain age that would buy quilts just to see a favourite personality that they remember, even lived with, or saw that when Bessie Braddock, who was of our time, a famous personality from Liverpool, who helped Liverpool people and as a politician. Would you consider that like it?
I've just not really thought about it, to be honest. It's something we think about, we consider, but it just hasn't. We've been that busy concentrating on getting this quilt done that we haven't really thought much about where it's going after the biennial, to be honest. So it's the next thing we've got to think about, isn't it? So
Yeah.
Yeah, but we say,
I think we could tour the quilts. You know, we could put it on in
Tour it
different
around
places.
Liverpool,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think so. Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
this
say
is
that
this.
John Moore's Library are interested to put it on after the biennial. I think somewhere else.
well,
some
it's
other
it,
people
John.
might
It
just have a
remains to
look
be
at it.
seen. See, it does sound like a fascinating project, and when the quilt's done and displayed, I imagine it'll be an eminent part of the biennial, and people will remember that and make inquiries about it later on. Where was it made? How was it made? Who made it? Are you interested in doing one for us? You know, so
Yeah,
Uh,
I think,
We
I
hope
think
so,
we could
don't
we could
we?
put it on a
Yeah.
bed and charge people to get in the bed. You know,
Well,
get
exactly
into bed
that.
with Kitty
Bed with Kitty
Wilkinson.
now there,
Wilkinson, yeah.
now see,
You know, I
the
think-
thoughts are endless. I mean, Kylie Minogue, how many
Yeah.
fellas they
Never
think
Never mind,
they're going
in
to
bed with
Kylie
Madonna.
Minogue
We
every
could do
night,
it in
and,
bed with Kitty Wilkinson.
oh, yeah, it's
Make a film.
I'd like that Nora Bassi. That was well, no, the things are endless. Like you carry on. It's,
ideas, yeah.
Never mind Tracy Emin. We've got a bed here, Kitty Wilkinson's.
well, let's exactly. Well, I've got about 5 of them in the house. We've had them for years. They were all works of art. But the other interests you had mentioned before, like, could you just elaborate on them a bit? You know, you're involved
sorry?
in some other community projects. You said.
Yes. The other project. We've just done so many, haven't we?
We started in a mums group about 3 years ago. It was just for mums to get together and just get out the house and just be women again, not mums, not labelled as mums or wives or girlfriends. You know, we just got together, had a cup of tea, a good chat, and you know, a few things. And then that mums, the place where we had that was the Leasing Centre in Speke. That the project closed, so we had nowhere to go. Then you know, to meet up. So we carried it on, and we meeting at my house, and then we went to another company that's put us in touch with other projects. The Arts and Regeneration, as I mentioned, it was through them we've done projects. Say the animation that we've done.
We're working towards level 2.
Yeah, we've actually got a qualification from them animations. We've got moving image skills and what was the other one? Visual arts. That was preparation for visual arts. So we've actually got a qualification through them. And just from that, we've just gone on to different projects that have been available. You know, people.
Printing,
Yeah,
didn't we?
we've done.
Printing monoprints.
Yeah,
boutique, those boutiques.
Yeah, and we there was a run on in Netherley, Naylesfield run. We went there with a group and we took wishes of the children while they were there. And we done like we painted hands and faces for the kids, and while we were there we asked them to make a wish for us, and we put it in a box. It was anonymous, so we didn't know which kid to make which wishes, but when we opened the box, we decided to put all these wishes onto a dream catcher to like catch the wishes of, say, the kids, of the dreams and aspirations. Yeah, of the children of South Liverpool. It was around the South Liverpool areas, and a lot of them were quite powerful, and really, I mean, a couple of them made me quite teary when I read them. Like there was one young child, I don't know if it was a boy or a girl, but they asked if they could have their brother back. And for kids to put that kind of wish into the project we were doing, we thought was really... I mean, we don't know what happened, we don't know the background to it, but that was just one of the wishes that was... And it sort of... I mean, some kids wished for community wishes, like we want a swimming pool and things like that, and we want a new park, yeah, and it was just really good to see that, you know, kids don't just want a, you know, PlayStation and things like that. They have real wishes and real dreams, you know, and we wanted to incorporate that into the project, so that's when we made the Dreamcatcher, which was displayed in Belvale for the project, the Four Corners project.
Well, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, I find this fascinating because you're actually battling all the evils of the present world, television, women's groups having discussions. I mean, you want to watch this could catch on, and you know, television.
Hopefully, yeah.
There'll be television, chips getting filled with televisions and all. Well, we have a mention here. You keep some journals. What did they happen saying to?
This is just John mentioned to us that might be a good idea to just write down what our thoughts of Kitty and our own lives as we personal journey through the project. So from when we started the idea of maybe doing a project, and we've just done pages about just about our own lives and about Kitty's life and just our thoughts and things we've done. Like I know Kelly and her journal's got quite a bit about the nights we spent in our house, doing the quilt and things like that. So it's just about our thoughts and what we think
our time as we're doing the actual project itself. But one of the good things is that we could use our art skills in this book. I know for myself, I've developed a different art technique as I've gone along since beginning of January, didn't we start?
Quite frightened of art, weren't you,
Yeah,
at
I
one
was
point?
extremely scared of art. I could use colour, but I just couldn't get it into a perspective that I enjoyed. And since then, I've done really well with that. But so have the other two. I mean, when you look at their work, you can see that they've poured their soul into each of the work that they've done, and we've all got different talents, and that's shown.
It's been good to see the different view that the three of us have had on the same project. So each journal is so different from the next that you just get to see a completely different view on the same project, if you understand. So
If you didn't know, you wouldn't think you were working on the same project.
because it's so different.
Because they're so different.
Could you select a pattern there and all up and see if we could pick it up on a camera? Well, Mark, what is it?
Page.
One of your favourites?
Kelly's got lots of favourite pages.
Yeah, I can imagine, yeah.
I like this one, the beginning. That one.
Just hold it up and you can zoom on it,
I've got my family. This is the collage of like My Little Race of Sunshine, which is my children and my nieces and nephews, and it's got a poem about becoming a mother. So it's really good. About saying that children don't last long, so you've got to cherish them while they're young. So
You get the dragon on, Mark. I mean, there's no doubt in the art there, is there? There's definitely art involved. Right, as regards putting the quilt together and the sewing, back to the sewing bit, have you found, have you got a certain skill, like you can fairly adapt to putting two pieces of cloth together? Because again, looking back over the years, a seamstress was a very skilled person, wasn't it? She could use a needle, like as an artist, she could do things with a needle that anybody else found impossible. Have you found that? Or is all machine work?
up until we started doing the quilts, I didn't do much sewing at all. Schools don't do much of it now.
Yeah.
I was really surprised to find that I could actually sew, and not just straight edges. It was really good, but yeah.
So you know what a thimble is then?
Well, not really. We used sew machines.
Yeah, we used the sewing machine up to now.
Yeah,
We haven't done any hand stitching yet. But I think Vicky was really surprised at how well she was on the sewing machine. I think we just surprised ourselves at how much we got done with so little knowledge of quilting, of how to sew. As I say, my mum's helped us quite. She's shown me in the past how to stitch a few things, and I've done a few little projects. I think I made a pencil case when I was younger or something like that. So I had a basic idea of how to sew, and it's just gone from there, hasn't it? We've just.
I think we knew as far as you put the pedal on it, so in a straight line.
We've stuck pretty much to straight lines as much as we could so far. But it's worked for us, hasn't it? So yeah.
But you have to start somewhere, don't you?
Yeah.
And again, you think of this like patchwork quilts, then you think of tapestries, which are still being used, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're still quite what's the other one? Embroidery, things like that. Don't you think you'll advance into that? Like, once you started one thing, you get interested in other ones.
The ideas are are endless, aren't they? What we could get into.
I've done cross stitch before, and I've done 3 or 4 years doing cross stitch. So it's very different for me to move on to something like normal sewing with machines, because they're kind of scary for me. But the girls have been great. They've boosted my confidence with the machine. Because it may sound silly for a woman to say she's scared of a sewing machine, but it's a very sharp, pointy needle, and I don't actually like sharp, pointy things, so not often anyway.
2006, you don't really need to learn how to use a
Well,
sewing
that's
machine.
it. It's not a done thing these days for girls to pick up sewing or to do stitching. It's just I don't know. Yeah,
No, but there's
just-
reason for that. Modern days, like
Days
everything
of
was taken
things
over by
change.
machines and factories.
Yeah.
Everything was mass-produced. Everything was taken out of your hands.
Mm.
Everything anybody did, any skill was always duplicated in a factory, you know. But that's not to say that people, there are certain groups of people who just would not let it go, and they still practice these skills, albeit you might not
Yeah.
know them. Might be your next door neighbour who is. Everybody knows a woman who could produce a knitted piece of clothing, you know, that's as a work of, as we say, as a work of art itself. And I've got a next door neighbour when she wants, she's 70 odd, and she, when you think of that, it's beautiful, you know, it's better than anything to make in a factory.
I think it's good as well to have that connection to the past, is like what people in Liverpool used to do. You know, the pastimes, what they used to knit, they used to sew, they used to crochet and things like that. And it's a shame that it's been lost so much, and that, you know, it's good to revive it. I think, for me, I feel it's good to revive that again and start doing things like that. Just, you know, it's like a connection to our ancestors, isn't it? And like my nan used to, my mum and my nan used to sew, and they used to make toys for one of the hospitals and sell them in one of the hospitals in Liverpool years ago. I'm talking like 30 years ago. So they used to sew a lot, and it's good to have that connection to them in a way. And I'm sure my nan's mum used to sew and so on, and you know, so.
Well, this project of yours could be the thin end of the wedge. I mean, it's for assuming, like, well, it's a thing that I think could really take off. And of course, the biennial will be the proof of the, you know, the proof of the pudding underneath. So the biennial will prove whether it'll, what's this, and I always have a lot of success.
Thank you.
But when the project is finished, will you still be
Still be
connected
evolving,
with them?
isn't
Will you be?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I think in some ways it's could well be the beginning of something. And I think Kitty Wilkinson's life is very interesting, you know, and it could well be that we do a little bit more work and look at her life and see what else we might do with it. You know, sort of, you know, her life story is quite tragic. It's quite sad, you know, and her mother's story is also quite tragic. You know, when she came to Liverpool as a child, her family emigrated from Ireland, the late 1700s, and she came in a fishing boat, and in travelling in the fishing boat to Liverpool, there was a storm in Liverpool Bay, and her father and the baby of the family were washed overboard. So her mother and the children came to Liverpool under those circumstances, and she, as a child, was sort of sold off to work in a cotton mill. And I think her actual life story is just, you know, in itself worth sort of looking at and reading about, and sort of and thinking about what, you know, what else could be done to sort of work with that material, and you know, maybe do a play or a film or a radio play, or, you know, who knows really. I think there's all sorts of opportunities that could still be sort of.
I think a good direction I'd like to take is in the conditions children lived in them days. It's like when Kitty went to work in the cotton mills, the conditions were atrocious. What they had to put up with, it was like 12-hour days for like a 9-year-old child, and I think the youngest child was 5, right up to the age of 18, and they worked like 12-hour days, sometimes 14-hour days. They didn't get a day off at all. And sometimes they had to eat the breakfast while they were working, things like this. And the conditions that they grew up in to the conditions that, you know, kids have today, it's a hell of an improvement. And it's an area that I'd like to look at, and maybe in the future, is to look at the child.
Well, without digressing from the work on the quilts, you're talking about days when children of 8 years of age went down the mines in Wales.
Yeah,
If you ever get your hands on a book called The Rape of the Fair Country, you won't put it down. From the front page to the back page, it's the history of the coal mines in Wales. And strangely enough, on the television last night, there was a show from the African countries, and in one country, there are 7 million children from 6 years of age up to 12 working a 12-hour day. 6 years of age. See them leaving, working on the side of a mountain, working in sweatshops. Some of them were locked in, and so it was bad years ago. It still exists today, which is amazing. But as you say, I think the things that happened in the past, it's understandable they're not to the forefront today, John, why people don't know about Kitty, because life has gone on so fast that a lot of people a certain age today wouldn't even dream that situations like that existed in those days. And it's an amazing thing that somebody like Kitty, who came up was born into adversity, like, comes across as somebody who wants to help people in the same position, where you would think they would say, once they get on their feet, I'd be glad to get away from it, sort of thing. But they've got to be the genuine people, haven't they?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think I think it is interesting that, you know, from her own life, the kind of tragic life that she grew up through, that she turns out to be someone who is so loving and compassionate and so helpful, and you know,
Such a
and
giving
is you
person.
know, yeah, someone who's really worked hard to just help children, you know, and to help families, you know.
She never stopped working, did she?
Yeah.
She continued to work, you know, throughout her adult life, as well as looking after, you know, the many children that she looked after. At one point, I think we worked out there was 23 children that she took in, but they're the only ones that are recorded. So it's pretty much loads more, we reckon. She did that as well. And I really admire her, the strength that she had, especially at a time where women weren't seen as, you know, the popular sex or the powerful sex. And, you know, with the help of her husband, you know, it wasn't just her, you know, her husband helped as well. I think she, you know, she really created a great role model for women these days.
She was quite, I think, entrepreneur is the word I'm looking for, because she sort of started many businesses. She started her own school. She started her own sewing. Her mum sewed things, lace work, and she sold them on. She done many things where she made things and sold on to make money for the family. Where, you know, in this day and age, it'd be like, you know, she's started like a mini business for herself. You know what I mean? It was only through circumstances she had to stop doing them. Like, she started a school for kids in Liverpool that couldn't afford it. She took them into her own home, charged them like those I don't even know. It was really old. Anyway, she charged them like, it was really cheap for the kids at the time, and she taught them how to read, how to write. She taught the girls how to sew, and so, you know, she gave to the kids a lot more than just cleaning clothes. She, you know, throughout her whole life, she looked after someone. You know, she from the day.
She was a mother.
Yeah, but even in the cotton mills when she was a child, she looked after the other children. It's got it in the book that we got most of our information from. Says she even looked after the children in the cotton mill. So even from a young age, right the way through till the day she died, she constantly looked after someone else. There was not a time in her life where there wasn't someone who depended on her. And it must have took so much courage and so much strength and dedication to do that kind of work for your entire life. That she's really to be.
I think it's heartening that people your age, you're like, all right, you're not exactly chilling, but you're not middle-aged, you're young like. It's heartening to think that you're just so enlightened about women like this, because it would be hard to put across to people just how hard it would be for that woman to chase those values she was after, because in those days, like, it's a terrible thing to say, but women were secondary to men in those days. You had no voice, you had no this. And if somebody with comparable, like, ambitions today, it would be fairly easy, because there's institutions where you would approach for help and to get them started. They'd have easy what's. But in their day, it was like a poor woman asking poor people to help poor people. Because people at the top, they were like very, very approachable, although there were some notable names around.
I think the only place to get help that financially that time was your local parish. And if you did get help, there was a chance that they'd take your children away to the local warehouse, which was really not. You know, it was, or to the mills it was, sorry. So people wouldn't ask for help for fear of the children being taken to the mills. So yeah, it was.
Well, you're talking of the days of the means testing, where if you were out of work and you're out of work for weeks on end, or a couple of months, and your finances ran out, before you got help, you had to sell your furniture, anything you had, any assets. That was means testing. And I think because I remember this as a child when my parents got it, what we called a social security, they were called the Royal Relief, because it was allied to the royal family. It was you're giving them by although they had nothing to do with it, it was a child that gave it. So it was so hard having that woman that day, and I think, again, it's just yesterday what I said, I think it's fabulous that people like you are pushing this woman's voices, and it could be the start of a big thing. And I don't think it's the fault of younger people today that they don't know them, because the world's gone so fast that really they've gone into the distant past, and although the records are still there, it's not the kind of thing people chase up. People, again, when I was middle-aged or younger, even, you went to museums as a pastime, so you'd learn about these people, but museums don't come across to most people today. They're either busy with their lives, it's clubs and what's this, you know. So I think you're pushing a very, very good, a good project. I hope you have a lot of success. Is there anybody, we do have an audience here, you wouldn't think so because we've been, anybody in the audience would like to ask these girls a question?
I had a question actually about the journals actually, because I think people were very fans for them after you're finished. And you also said that it's like the three of you have worked on different projects. So what have you kind of each separately got out of it? That's so different from the next person.
I think it's a release. You've got loads going on in your head, and it's not just about Kitty, it's about your life and how you compare your life to her life. And I think we've expressed it so differently. I mean, we've all got different styles, different artistic styles, not one's the same. You look at the pages with exactly the same facts on, but they're so differently presented, and it's a bit strange really. People would look at it and think, right, read the same thing about 50 times, but it looks completely different.
Are they quite personal to you, or would you be willing to kind of...
I think some of them
they are quite personal, but it's we've kept in mind that people will be looking at the journals, so we've kept it quite just so we don't mind people looking at it, so it's not that personal that it's
And it's clean.
Yes.
It's clean as well.
So
for public viewing.
yeah, we don't mind. We were hoping to display maybe some of the pages with the quilt, where the quilt's getting displayed, but we haven't decided yet how we're going to do that, you know, to keep the quality of the book, so we're not sure yet.
Because journals are something that, I don't know if I because journals sometimes are things that you start off like really strong, like a diary or something like that, and then you kind of peters off to the end. Have you kind of kept the momentum going, and do you have like a set routine when you're finished in the evening, you go straight, or do you go later on? And
I think we just do it when we've got time. I mean, because we've all got 2 children each, so 2 children keeping a house going and doing our other bits and bobs, voluntary work and whatever we do.
I think Kelly's been more enthusiastic, I think, than us two. As then she's got a blooming big book, you know. So yeah, she's kept it going, I think, more so than we have.
She tells how many pages is left to
Yeah,
fill.
she's got pages to fill.
Well, we've got one more. Oh, sorry. We've got one more audience member here, I think. I'd like to say a word.
I was just going to ask more about like what projects you'd been working on beforehand, and was it just yourself, Amanda, who had contact beforehand with John, or had the two of you also worked and met with John before, or like is this the first time the three of you have worked together?
No,
or
I think on most of the other projects we've done, we've worked together. The original idea of the biennial, Amanda actually attended, didn't you? On your own.
But originally it started with, when we were in the Leeson Centre, John came into one of our mums groups with the Madonna and Child project. And unfortunately, Kelly and Vicky couldn't get involved in that. So I was one of the women, with other women who was in the group at the time, was involved. And then after that, we worked with John, one of the projects?
I worked with John previously before the Madonna
you'd
and
worked
Child
with John
on a creative skills training course. That was 3 years ago.
We made a tiny little film.
We made a little tiny film.
With magic and boxes or something.
Yeah, something silly.
Something silly it was.
But yeah, that was...
I think this is the first one where the 4 of us have worked. Including John. The 4 of us have worked together. I think this is the first one where all 4 of us have been involved. Yeah.
I've seen John before and I've talked to him, but I hadn't actually worked with him on the project until we started the biennial, did we? So, yeah.
and sorry, Sharon was going to ask a question. No, I was just going to say, before this project, had you heard of the biennial before, or in 2004, did you go and see any of it? Or
I did. I was attending an art class in the Leeson Centre, and the teacher brought us to the city centre to have a look around the project. So I've been to see some of the projects before, but I'm not sure about.
No, I only moved up to Liverpool in 2003, and if it wasn't for the Leeson's Mums group, you know, I wouldn't have been able to have done as much as I have. So I'm really grateful for them and for these girls, because they've brought me on so much. And it was actually them that actually talked about the biennial It was Amanda, I think, actually, wasn't it?
I've heard of it. I have never visited any of the exhibits before, but
Because I was thinking it'd be good to look at the other triangles, you know,
yeah,
because there's the 3 as well. Like, just
I think we
like,
definitely will be really
like you were
interested this
saying,
year, won't we?
you know
Yes.
what you were
Yeah.
saying, like how you've each had a different experience within your journals. Like, it's interesting to think
Yeah.
about that model and how the other groups might have
A few of the-
experienced it, you
Yeah.
know, because I think you guys seem like quite independent, like you could just go on and do your own thing.
Independent women.
You need 2 artists to support you.
Oh, well, yeah. We have been quite quite close knit with us being friends at the first, you know, beforehand. Anyway, I think it's helped a lot with the project and keeping it going. And I think if we weren't so close as friends and beforehand, it wouldn't have been such a success for us. I think it's helped a lot that we've been with that we are so close. So
Because we're very open as well with
Yeah.
discussions. You know, we don't hold back. If there's something going on that's not right, we tell her how it is. So,
she does me head in, I'll tell her. Yeah. So yeah.
so
But
yeah,
yeah.
and I think that really works for us, doesn't
Yeah.
it? You know, because there's nothing going on that's, you know, stormy waters or anything between us. We are, as we've seen, we're very happy with each other. I sound
We
like
work
we're
well
like
together.
married or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, oh, go on, just answer that. What was that? Unfortunately, it seems we've run out of time. Before we finish, I'd like to put an order in for a Sophie Lauren quilt.
Right, okay.
And
We'll
if you
keep
can't
that
do
in
that, could
mind.
you do Stephen Gerrard holding the cup up in Istanbul?
We'll see what we
Okay,
can do. We'll let
Uh,
you know, yeah.
Anyway, we'd like to thank everybody. We'd like to thank the 3 girls. They're three very talented girls, very enlightened, and I think it's been fascinating listening to this. We'd like to thank John for taking part. We'd like to thank Sharon for input, and everybody else that's asked questions. Of course, if we come to the end, what we see is again, we might even follow this through after the biennial, see what happens to you, you know, see life after the biennial. Thank you all very much, and take care. God bless.
Thanks, Thanks.
Yay.